Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, I hope you are doing well. Thank you very much for clicking on the video. Thank you very much for liking and subscribing. This video...
Okay, ladies and gents, if you are here for just the workout, you can go to the timestamp on your screen now. That says 9:32. Otherwise, I'm going to be talking a little bit about my plans to compete this year. Enjoy the video.
Is going to be a little rundown. I know the lighting is awful, but it's really dark outside, so this video is going to be a little rundown of my competition prep plans. My battery's flashing red already. Come on. This is half the time why I don't put any videos out, because the battery on this G7X is awful. Okay, ladies and gents, we're back again, and hopefully this time the battery does not die on me. Don't die on me, camera. We're at breakfast. It is the next day to where I was recording before. I'm trying to currently finish this incredibly caloric breakfast, which I'm halfway through. But the title and the reason for today's video is talking about my competition prep plans for 2020. Now, I've been looking forward to 2020 and progressing into a different category at some point for a long time. 2017 was the last time I competed. I competed in several men's physique competitions, one male model competition. I did very well. I was very happy with my overall results, but I knew that I needed to take a good amount of time away from competing in order to progress in competing. So we're now in 2020, it's about 3 years on, so I've had about 2-year off season, which, if you are somebody that goes from year to year competing, I urge you to take 2 years and just grind on your training and your food, because I feel amazing compared to how I've felt before. I feel so much happier in my body as well, which is weird. Like, a lot of people think as soon as you start bulking and you put on body fat, you know, you're gonna feel worse about your body. But in all honesty, it's kind of like, it wasn't a fear for me to put on body fat. I don't have a bad relationship with my body or with my food, but it was kind of the unknown of what my body would look like with extra body fat on it, because I've always been a lean person. I've always been very like, kind of my ectomorph. I've always been very ectomorph. So because of that, I never knew what I looked like if I would have added body fat. And in the last kind of like 2 years, I've put on body fat. My body composition has improved. I put on what I hope is a lot of muscle, and I'm really hoping that I can stick with this amount of muscle and just continue to get peeled. I'm gonna be like meticulous with everything. I'm gonna try and show you guys as much of it as I can. As of yet, my decision is not to take on a prep coach until maybe like a few weeks before my show, just to kind of dial me in and just watch what I'm doing. I've never had a problem with getting in shape for a competition, and at the moment my plan is to start my prep on the 16th of March. Monday the 16th of March my prep starts. Now, I don't think I'm going to start my prep series on YouTube then, because this is going to be like a 20-week prep. The first kind of week of my prep is going to be like just getting into the routine of tracking things more closely. That's another thing which I've benefited from when I've taken this off season, is taking a step backwards from meticulously tracking everything. I have a meal plan in which I find just helps me a hell of a lot better. I know my meal plan hits about 4,800 calories, and then on top of that I'm like, okay, so I've got 400 calories to play with, which I can add in. I have a mince pie and a couple of chocolates, or you know, 400 calories. You can have a fairly good amount of stuff with, even if it's just like a little chocolate Santa. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, this is the plan. This is the plan going forward. 2020 potentially could be a very good year for me, and I'm hoping to take it into a new category. As I said, men's physique has kind of been my background, but I'd like to go into a tested bodybuilding show. I don't think any untested shows I would hold my own on stage, just because it's such an advantage to be on steroids if you are in a bodybuilding category. Although there's lots and lots of people in the physique categories that are assisted, you don't really, in the smaller shows, you don't really benefit that much from it. Like, majority of judges in certain federations, I should say, will probably mark you down if you're too big, you know, if you're like too overly developed and things like that. But so possibly doing a couple of untested physique shows, untested male model shows, but my main focus is one show in UKUP on the 25th of July, which I will be doing probably a couple of different categories, as I did a couple of different categories last time I competed with UKUP, and I took first in all of them, so it makes sense for me to do it again. And hopefully the standard is high, so you know, you feel a sense of achievement. It is a local show to me, so we will see how it goes, but it has the potential to then go on to the British, you know. So then the UK DFBA show, every time I've competed, I've always done a competition that year with this federation. Kind of like a one a little bit closer to my heart, because it's the first ever competition that I did. But in that show, depending on how I look, I will be going into a bodybuilding category. So yeah, that in itself for me is a bit like, okay, it's real, but you know, I've worked towards this for a long time. I've smashed myself trying to get, you know, my proportions better, trying to build up my legs, because obviously legs are incredibly important in bodybuilding. Men's physique, obviously, I used to train legs, but I always used to kind of avoid certain exercises because of my knees. Now, instead of avoiding those exercises, I've just worked around them. So yeah, I'm stoked for this year. I hope you guys are. And I'm just going to leave it as that kind of like little update on what prep is going to be like in 2020, and then have a little watch of the rest of the video. I think I'm going to be training pull today. I've been a little bit ill recently, so I haven't really trained too much over the last week. I had my deload week, so whilst I was ill, it just makes sense for me to be like, okay, I'm deloading, I'm ill, I might as well just not train. So I didn't train for 5 days. I had my first day training back yesterday, which was push, which went well. Now we're going to do pull, and then I'll see if I'm well enough to do legs. I might have to rest and then do legs, but we'll see. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of the video. If you have not already liked, subscribed, and followed me on the various socials, if you fancy watching me on this journey, see if I win or fail, have a little subscribe and follow along for the journey. If you don't follow along for the journey, you're more than welcome to just finish watching the rest of the video. Alexa, play hardcore workout music.
Playing hardcore workout music on Amazon Music.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. In the background, or on your screen now, we have a pull workout, which is back, traps and biceps. I'm still following legs push pull at the moment. Today was my first leg session back, because I've been a little bit ill over the festive period with a little bit of chest infection and cold, which is also why you'll see in the posing at the end of this video I'm looking fairly lean, and the reason for that is I always find if I've got a little bit of a cold, my appetite is completely shot. I can't taste the food that I'm eating, I can't breathe whilst I'm eating it, so my hunger is non-existent and I find it very difficult to get in food. So as currently I am a lot leaner than I need to be this far out from a competition. So in some cases I could do like a food challenge or something like that and try and get my weight back up a little bit, but until I'm fully better, I don't think there's any chance that I'm going to be able to do that, because my appetite is the appetite of a 6-year-old child at the moment. So we will hopefully get there. I am still eating as much food as I can, and at the moment I'm scraping by my like 4,500 to 5,000, but that's clearly not enough for me at the moment, so we will see how it goes. I've had quite a few questions about the amount of food that I eat and how to quote-unquote build up your metabolism. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why I have to eat so much food, why you may not have to eat so much food, or why you may also need to eat so much food. So for myself, as mentioned previously in this video, I am quite ectomorphic. Everybody in my family, on my father's side as well, is extremely ectomorphic too. I have 2 sisters, they are both very ectomorphic. So growing up in that sort of environment with those sort of genetics already, that kind of already puts me in a predispositioned position of requiring a little bit more food. Growing up, I obviously ate what my mother cooked me until I was about sort of like 12. But when I was growing up, I ate very, very well, good, healthy food. But probably the amounts of it could have done a little bit more, because again, I was quite a skinny kid. But as I've kind of continued training, I have noticed my requirement for food increasing quite a lot. My last prep in 2017, I was running majority of my food on 3,008 to 4,200, which for a prep is extremely high, really. And I don't think I would have ever seen myself having to eat that much food on a prep before. Now, there are quite a few things that go into play with this. So obviously I've mentioned genetics, but also activity levels. Now, I am an online coach, but I also do one-to-one PT sessions every now and again, which sometimes require me to do a little bit more activity. So there's always that. I'm doing, like, I'd say about 10 to 12,000 steps a day, which isn't crazy. But on my prep last year, I tried to get that up to kind of like 15 to 20,000. Not so much out of choice, but I walk to the gym and I walk back from the gym, little bits of activity throughout the day, and as I mentioned, PT sessions. So there's also that. My activity was higher. Also, this is going to be a very marginal amount. I have increased muscle mass in the last 2-3 years. Now, I do think that people have a misconception of how much more muscle burns more calories. I think the calculations are 1 pound of muscle equals to like 4 to 10 calories more, which is tiny. That's not really going to be very much at all, but again, it's probably a small influence. Now, all of those things together, you may be thinking, well, those things probably don't equal to that much amount of calories, and they really don't. Like, if you look at how much food I was eating in my prep to how much food I'm eating now, there's been about, I'd say about 1,000 calorie increase, maybe a little bit more, over nearly 3 years. Actually, yeah, 3 years. And my weight has increased from 70 kilos in my stage weight through to 91 kilos now. So that's a hell of a lot more weight increased. Now, obviously, not all of that's going to be muscle, but because my body is heavier, I'm having to move more weight, so I'm burning more calories. So a lot of people will find when they're quote-unquote bulking or in a gaining phase, that when they start increasing their food, they increase body weight, and then all of a sudden they start to stall and they need a little bit more food. Now, that could be to some of the changes which I mentioned earlier, like maybe increased activity, adaptations to that food, which a lot of people do, again, kind of forget about. This is your body adapts to the amount of food that you give it. So if, for example, I was to drop my food down to 2,000 calories or lower, my body would start becoming more and more efficient to try and save more and more food, more and more energy going out. So some of the things is you just naturally fidget less, you naturally walk less, you blink less, you talk with less enthusiasm. If you go back onto any video which I've filmed during my prep, you'll see that my facial expressions, my tone of voice, everything is completely different. You can tell that I'm in a position where my body is trying to save as much energy as it can. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is your body just trying to stop itself from losing weight, which is obviously a pretty key thing. If we were just in the wild or something, we were just living off small amounts of food. But the same thing happens in the reverse. So when you start having more food, you also start moving more, you start blinking more, you have more energy, you probably fidget more. Also thermically, I don't know if thermically is the right word, but your body temperature definitely increases. Like in my prep, I could go through a whole workout and sweat maybe a tiny little drop. I don't really sweat very much often anyway, but certainly I feel that I am slightly more maybe damp. I don't know, that's a very stupid way of describing it, but I'm slightly more damp now than I would be finishing a workout in my prep. It's a very bad way of describing it, but basically what I'm saying is your body heats up more when you have more food coming in. Like I can eat a large meal and I will start to feel like I need to take my jumper off, I need to take this off, you know, I get pretty hot pretty quickly. So again, that's your body adapting to the amount of food that you give it. And also strength is been going up, training performance has been going up, so it just makes sense that my body would require more food. So what you can do in a case where you might need to increase your quote-unquote metabolism is just do the things which I've basically said. Maybe move a little bit more, stick to maybe an increased amount of calories. Say, okay, I'm going to increase 100 calories. I'm not going to move that until my body weight stabilizes. Your body will have time to adapt to that, and then you can increase again. But you have to make sure that obviously you're still in a healthy point. You don't want to get to a position where you're holding lots and lots of body fat for unnecessary reasons. But you also don't want to be like me and be too lean. So it's a balance. Life is a balance. Training is a balance. Eating is a balance. But going into this competition prep, obviously the ability to have balance does reduce somewhat, largely. But as I said, this is not a healthy way to live. Going into a competition prep is not a healthy lifestyle. It's the same as doing a marathon or doing an Ironman. It's not healthy to push your body through it, but it's a challenge. It's something which I enjoy in a weird way, and I'm sure runners enjoy doing marathons in a weird way as well. So enjoy the posing. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will speak to you soon. Mwah.
Yeah. Unknown Brain, Marvin Divine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators. And I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games, yeah. I know that I found somebody else to love me one day, yeah. You'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side, no. You did me dirty for the last time, so now I gotta say goodbye. So now I gotta say goodbye.
Practice makes perfect.